24 advanced adjectives you need to know. Hello and welcome to a new free English course to improve your language skills. This course is all about C1 level advanced adjectives to really improve your English. Before we get started, I'd just like to point out that this is also available as a PDF. You can check out my shop right here. It's called English with Ty. It's on buymeacoffee.com and you can see the PDF for this free English class right here. You can also go on ko-fi.com and it's the same principle. You can see my shop right here and you can get the PDF right here. And I'm of course also on Patreon where you can support me on a monthly basis, and that way you also get access to the PDF documents that I upload each week for every single course. Now let's get started. So this course is all about advanced adjectives to improve your English vocabulary. Now, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe and hit the like button. That really helps out with the YouTube algorithm. And now let's get started with the first word. The first word I want to talk about is abhorrent. ABHORRENT, in case you're listening to this as a podcast, which you can also do on YouTube and of course on Spotify. Now, abhorrent means causing or deserving strong dislike or hatred. And what I want to talk about in this first section is the pronunciation of the word, in other words, how to say it. And in my opinion, you pronounce it abhorrent. Abhorrent. Now, there's a really cool website that I'm not affiliated with in any way. It's called Lingui, and you can type in the word. Let's see here, abhorrent. So here it is, abhorrent, and you can see this little mic icon here. And if you click it, look what happens.
Abhorrent.
You can hear the American English pronunciation. Let's listen to it again.
Abhorrent.
Abhorrent. And here's the British English pronunciation.
Abhorrent.
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 So I prefer British English personally. I am not a native English speaker, by the way. I grew up in Germany and I was born in Germany. I lived there for the first 18 years of my life and then I migrated to England. So I'm basically, kind of half-ish really. But this word is very interesting because it's basically almost pronounced the same, in my opinion, in British English and American English. But there are words that are a little different. They're pronounced differently and I'll talk about them later. Anyways, here's an example for the word abhorrent. The abhorrent behavior of the bully made the other students feel unsafe. And abhorrent is underlined right here. And that's of course the key word of this slide right here, as you can see. Now, here's another example with the adjective abhorrent for you.
I find you to be odious, abhorrent, and insagrivious.
The next word is abject, A-B-J-E-C-T, abject, and that means extremely unpleasant or degrading. Now let's type it into my nice little website here again, abject, just to hear the different pronunciations. Here's American English for you.
Abject.
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 And British English is more like abject. So it's basically very similar, again, in my opinion. So depending on what you're learning, British English or American English, these words are so far pretty similar, abhorrent and abject. Again, it means extremely unpleasant and degrading. And here's an example phrase for you. The abject poverty in the village was heart-wrenching. Basically, heart-wrenching means that it was, hard to watch. It's, devastating. And it was not just poverty, it was abject poverty. So it was very, unpleasant and degrading poverty, basically. And now here's another example with the adjective abject for you.
Yes, abject humiliation.
The next word I want to talk about is acerbic. A-C-E-R-B-I-C, acerbic. And that means sharp and forthright. And here's the pronunciation again.
Acerbic.
And here's British English.
Acerbic.
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 And acerbic. In American English, the R always gets pronounced a little bit harder, in my opinion. In British English, it's quite soft, in my opinion, acerbic. And like I said before, I prefer British English, and I used to, live in England, so that's why I tend to speak more British English than American English. Anyways, here is another example for you with the word acerbic in it. Another sentence. Her acerbic wit made her stand out in the comedy scene. That was actually the first example, and here is another example for you.
I'm begging you, please. I'm like a man without water. Please, an acerbic comment, would it kill you?
Adroit is the next word I want to talk about. A-D-R-O-I-T, adroit. And that means clever or skillful in using the hands or mind. Adroit. Now let's type that back into the website.
Adroit.
And here's the British pronunciation.
Adroit.
So again, it's very similar in my opinion. Basically, adroit, again, A-D-R-O-I-T. Adroit. Here's an example phrase. The adroit pianist played the difficult piece flawlessly. So the pianist was very clever, or well, skillful at playing piano, and he played a difficult piece and he played it flawlessly. So he played it without mistakes. He played it perfectly. Here is another example with the adjective adroit for you.
The Romanists have, with great adroitness.
The next word is affluent, affluent, A-F-F-L-U-E-N-T, affluent, and that means wealthy and prosperous. Affluent, here is the American pronunciation.
Affluent.
And here's the British pronunciation.
Affluent.
Affluent. And again, it means wealthy and prosperous. Here's an example phrase, the affluent societies of the Western world. So basically the wealthy and prosperous societies of the Western world. And here's a second example for you with the adjective affluent.
Catering exclusively to the affluent.
The following word I want to talk about is altruistic. Altruistic is spelled A-L-T-R-U-I-S-T-I-C, altruistic. And that means showing a selfless concern for the welfare of others, as you can see right here. Now let's type it into the website again for pronunciation. Altruistic. Here's the American pronunciation.
Altruistic.
And here's the British pronunciation.
Altruistic.
Again, it means showing a selfless concern for the welfare of others. Here's a phrase for you. Her altruistic act of donating her kidney saved her brother's life. So this person did a very selfless act and, donated her kidney, which was very altruistic of her. It was very selfless, and she cared about the welfare of, her brother's life in this case. So that's very selfless. And here's another phrase for you with the adjective altruistic.
How altruistic of you.
The next word I want to discuss is amenable. A-M-E-N-A-B-L-E. Amenable. And for some reason, I just pronounced the E here like a very long E. Amenable, not amenable. And it means open and responsive to suggestion. Now, let's see how this is actually pronounced. Here's the American pronunciation.
Amenable.
Again.
Amenable.
Amenable, and British English?
Amenable.
Amenable. Okay, so there is quite a strong difference now, audible difference in my opinion. Let's listen to the American version again.
Amenable.
Amenable and?
Amenable.
Amenable in British English. So for some reason here, Americans say amenable, so they pronounce the E right here quite short, amenable. And in British English, this is dragged out. This is elongated. This is pronounced very long, amenable, for some reason. Now, whether you learn British English or American English, it's good to know both versions here. Again, amenable means open and responsive to suggestion. Here is a phrase for you. Parents sometimes have amenable children, or parents sometimes have amenable children in American English. Now, here is another example for you with amenable/amenable.
Amenable.
The next word I want to talk about is amiable. A-M-I-A-B-L-E. Amiable. And that means having or displaying a friendly and pleasant manner. Amiable. Here's the American way of saying it.
Amiable. Amiable.
And here's the British way.
Amiable.
Amiable. So it's very similar in both British and American English.
Amiable.
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 Amiable. The interesting thing here is that the I is not pronounced like a I. It's not amiable, it's amiable. And again, it means having or displaying a friendly and pleasant manner. And here is an example phrase for you. The amiable host greeted us warmly at the door. So the host was very friendly and pleasant. The host was very amiable. Here's another example with the adjective amiable for you.
He is most amiable. He is truly amiable.
The next word I want to talk about is ambivalent. A-M-B-I-V-A-L-E-N-T. Ambivalent. And again, it's I want to highlight the I right here because it's not pronounced ambivalent. It's pronounced ambivalent. And that means having mixed feelings or contradictory ideas about something or someone. Let's listen to the different pronunciations again of British English and American English. Here's American English for you.
Ambivalent.
And here is British English for you.
Ambivalent.
So it's pronounced the same in British English and American English, in these examples at least, ambivalent. And here's an example phrase for you. She was ambivalent about whether or not to take the job offer. So she had basically mixed feelings and contradictory ideas about the job. She's not sure about the job. Anyways, here's another example for you with ambivalent.
I feel kind of ambivalent about your ambivalence.
Okay, now I want to talk about the word amorphous. A-M-O-R-P-H-O-U-S. Amorphous. Amorphous means without a clearly defined shape or form. Let's listen to the different ways of pronouncing it again.
Amorphous.
Amorphous.
So in British English, it seems to be amorphous, and in this example.
Amorphous.
And American English seems to be
amorphous.
Amorphous. So I tend to lean a bit more towards American English here with the A, amorphous. I would not necessarily say amorphous for some reason. I don't know. It just doesn't come naturally to me. But again, both versions are correct. That's what I'm trying to, tell you here. That it's okay to use the British English version and it's okay to use the American English version. Amorphous or amorphous. Again, it means without a clearly defined shape or form. Here's an example phrase. The amorphous blob in the science experiment was difficult to categorize. And here's another example for you with the word amorphous.
Wow, there's tons of amorphous insectivorous life forms.
The next word I want to talk about is quite long for an English word. The word is anachronistic. A-N-A-C-H-R-O-N-I-S-T-I-C. Anachronistic, which means belonging to a period other than that being portrayed. Now let's listen to the pronunciation.
Anachronistic.
Anachronistic.
Anachronistic. Okay, so it seems I actually pronounced it a little wrong myself here just now. It seems I need to listen to this a few more times myself. Let's listen to it again.
Anachronistic.
Anachronistic.
Anachronistic. So the emphasis is actually on the second A here, on this A, anachronistic. And I guess that makes sense. Anachronistic. That sounds quite nice. That's why I chose this word actually, because it sounds quite nice. Anachronistic. Belonging to a period other than that being portrayed. Here is an example phrase. The use of horses in the modern day film felt anachronistic. And here's another example for you with the word anachronistic.
Anachronistic electricity, keep out signs, aggressive stares.
The following word is apathetic. A-P-A-T-H-E-T-I-C. Apathetic. And that means showing or feeling no interest, enthusiasm, or concern. Let's listen to the different ways of pronouncing it again. Here's the American way of saying it.
Apathetic.
And here's the British English pronunciation.
Apathetic.
So it's the same really in British English and American English if you ask me. Apathetic. And again, it means showing or feeling no interest, enthusiasm, or concern. Here's an example for you. The apathetic response of the students to the school assembly was disappointing. And the important thing I just noticed here as well is that this word has a TH in it, apathetic. So you have to put your tongue between your teeth for this one, which might not be natural to you at all if you're not a native English speaker. So in German, for example, we don't do this at all. You wouldn't do this. But in English, it's totally fine to do that if there's a TH like this. So it's apathetic.
I've been feeling apathetic toward everything.
The next word I want to talk about is arbitrary. Arbitrary is spelled A-R-B-I-T-R-A-R-Y, arbitrary. And what I want to emphasize here is the I again in the middle. It's not pronounced arbitrary, but arbitrary. And this means based on random choice or personal whim rather than any reason or system. That's when something is arbitrary. Now let's listen to different ways of saying it again. Here's the American way of saying it.
Arbitrary.
And here's the British way.
Arbitrary.
So in British English, the A is a little bit longer in my opinion. Let's listen to it again.
Arbitrary.
Arbitrary.
And in American English, it's actually a bit shorter, arbitrary. So again, I tend to personally lean a bit more to the American version of pronouncing this here, arbitrary, rather than arbitrary. But it's pretty similar in British English and American English. Here's an example for you. The arbitrary decision to choose red as the color of the logo was not based on any research. And here's another example with arbitrary for you.
It's too arbitrary. It's unreasonable.
The next word I want to talk about is arcane. Arcane. A-R-C-A-N-E. Arcane. And that means understood by few, mysterious, or, secretive. And let's listen to different ways of saying this word again, first of all.
Arcane.
And here's the British English version.
Arcane.
And again, the British version is a little bit longer. Arcane.
Arcane.
Now, I'm not saying that every person in the UK pronounces it that way. There are many regional accents, and there are many regional accents in the US as well. This is just a really helpful general guideline, in my opinion. Let's listen to it again.
Arcane.
Arcane.
And again, the A is a bit longer in British English, in my opinion.
Arcane.
Arcane.
And so again, I guess I do tend to stick a bit more with the British version here, arcane. The A is a bit longer for me, in my mind, at least, arcane. Here's an example phrase. The arcane language of the ancient text was difficult to decipher. And here's another example with arcane for you.
An arcane puzzle.
The next word I want to discuss is arduous. A-R-D-U-O-U-S. Arduous. That means involving or requiring strenuous effort, difficult and tiring. Well, it can be difficult or tiring. Let's listen to the different pronunciations again.
Arduous.
Arduous.
Arduous. So again, the A at the beginning is a little longer in British English. Arduous.
Arduous.
And
arduous.
Arduous. But in my opinion, they're very similar again. British English and American English are very similar in many cases, and especially, if there's a word with A. Arduous. Anyways, let's listen to an example phrase right here. The arduous climb to the summit of the mountain took 6 hours. So the climb of the mountain was very, difficult and tiring, obviously. So it was very arduous. Here's another example with arduous for you.
Long, arduous hours of practice.
The following word is articulate. A-R-T-I-C-U-L-A-T-E. Articulate. And that means having or showing the ability to speak fluently and coherently. That's what we're trying to do on this channel. That's what I'm trying to do on this channel. I'm teaching myself and teaching you at the same time. I hope you're having fun. Let's listen to different ways of pronouncing this word.
Articulate.
Articulate in American English and...
Articulate.
Articulate in British English. Wow, so it's more articulate than articulate. I don't know why I just pronounced it articulate. It just came naturally to me. But yeah, articulate. Articulate. I guess that makes sense. Again, it means having or showing the ability to speak fluently. And that's what we're learning right now. So the articulate candidate impressed the interviewers with their communication skills. That's an example phrase. Here's another example for you with articulate in it.
It's difficult to articulate.
The next word I want to talk about is astute. A-S-T-U-T-E, astute. And that means having or showing an ability to accurately assess situations or people and turn this to one's advantage. It's a very interesting word, which is why I chose this. Here's an example phrase. The astute detective quickly solved the case. Now, let's try and solve this case by listening to different ways of pronouncing this word. Here's the American way.
Astute.
Astute. And here's the British way.
Astute.
Astute. Okay, in my opinion, the British way makes more sense here. Listen again to the U in the middle.
Astute.
And here's the American version.
Astute.
Astute and astute.
Astute.
Astute. In my opinion, astute makes more sense, so I want to emphasize the U here towards the end. In British English, it would be like a U sound, astute, and in American English, it would be more like a U sound, astute, astute. Again, the example phrase is the astute detective quickly solved the case, and here's another example with astute for you.
I'm very astute.
This next word is a very important word. It's one of my personal favorite words, and it's assertive. A-S-S-E-R-T-I-V-E. S-T-I-V-E, and it's not because it has the word as in it, okay? It has a strong sound to it, and it has a strong meaning. It means having or showing a confident and forceful personality. Now, I'm not so sure about the forceful part, but being assertive is, in my opinion, important, and knowing this word is important, assertive. Now, let's listen to different pronunciations of this first of all.
Assertive.
And here's the British example.
Assertive.
Okay, so the difference here is that in British English, the T is pronounced quite aggressively, in my opinion, assertive. And in American English, it's softer, assertive. Here's an example phrase. The job may call for assertive behavior. So the job might show or might call for, confident and, almost forceful behavior. Here's another example with assertive for you.
No, be assertive!
The next word is audacious, A-U-D-A-C-I-O-U-S, audacious even. And that means showing a willingness to take surprisingly bold risks, audacious. Let's listen to different ways of pronouncing this word.
Audacious.
Audacious is American and
Audacious.
Audacious is British. So they're very similar, basically the same. Slight difference in the beginning here, I think, but it's okay. Basically, it's pronounced audacious. Here's an example for you. The audacious escape from the prison made headlines around the world. Again, the word even is audacious, and here's an example for you.
Audacious.
The next word is autonomous. Spelled A-U-T-O-N-O-M-O-U-S, autonomous. That means having the freedom to govern itself and control its own affairs. And let's see if there's different ways of saying this in British English and American English, first of all. Ooh, this one is hard to spell. Autonomous. Here we go.
Autonomous.
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 A slight difference in the beginning here, autonomous, in British English and American English. The way I would pronounce it is autonomous. Here's an example phrase for you. The Federation included 16 autonomous republics. Here's a second example for you with the word autonomous in it.
We could make Alicia fully autonomous.
The next word is avaricious, A-V-A-R-I-C-I-O-U-S, avaricious. And I want to highlight the E's here. I don't think it's pronounced avaricious or something like that. I'm pretty sure it's avaricious. And that means having or showing an extreme greed for wealth or material gain. Again, a very interesting word, which is why I chose it. Let's listen to different ways of pronouncing it. Here's American English.
Avaricious.
And here's British English.
Avaricious.
Avaricious, yes. So in both British English and American English, this is pronounced avaricious and not avaricious or something. That would be incorrect, I guess. Avaricious. Okay, here's an example phrase for you. Avaricious corporate bosses looking to maximize profits.
You hand it over, you avaricious old skeleton.
All right, the next word is quite short. Avid, A-V-I-D, avid. And that means having or showing a keen interest in or enthusiasm for something. Here is a different way of saying avid. Let's check if there are different ways, first of all.
Avid.
Avid.
Yeah, so in British English, the A at the beginning is pronounced like an R, avid.
Avid.
Avid. And American English, it would be more like avid.
Avid.
Avid, yeah. And again, it means having or showing a keen interest in or enthusiasm for something. And here's an example phrase. The avid readers spend hours each day lost in their books. Here's a further example for you with the word avid in it.
Avid collectors.
Now, this word is tricky to pronounce for German speakers, in my opinion, and perhaps many other foreign nationalities. The word is awry, A-W-R-I, and the problem for me personally here is the W followed by R and Y, awry. And that means away from the appropriate planned or expected course, amiss, awry. Let's listen to different ways of pronouncing it.
Awry.
Awry.
So it's basically pronounced the same in British English and American English, awry. Here's an example phrase for you. The plan had gone awry and needed to be revised. Awry. Here's another example for you with the word awry in it.
What could possibly go awry?
Now this last word is an interesting one. The word is axiomatic. axiomatic, axiomatic. That means self-evident or unquestionable, axiomatic. Let's listen to different ways of pronouncing it.
Axiomatic.
Axiomatic.
Wow, actually, the British version here in this example says axiomatic.
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 And the American example says axiomatic. I guess I'm kind of in between British and American version here with my own pronunciation. I'm in between both British and American English for once. Axiomatic is the way I would pronounce this. Again, it means self-evident or unquestionable. Here's an example for you. It is axiomatic that we need water to survive. Here's another example with the word axiomatic for you.
Doesn't know what axiomatic means.
Okay, that was the first part of this free English course. Now I'm going to ask you to repeat the words that you just learned after me. So I'll say it first and then you repeat after me. Let's go. Abhorrent. Now you. The abhorrent behavior of the bully made the other students feel unsafe. And now you repeat the sentence after me as well. Good. Next word. Abject. The abject poverty in the village was heart-wrenching. Acerbic. Her acerbic wit made her stand out in the comedy scene. Adroit. The adroit pianist played the difficult piece flawlessly. Affluent. The affluent societies of the Western world. Altruistic. Her altruistic act of donating her kidney saved her brother's life. Amenable. Parents sometimes have amenable children. Amiable. The amiable host greeted us warmly at the door. Ambivalent. She was ambivalent about whether or not to take the job offer. Amorphous. The amorphous blob in the science experiment was difficult to categorize. Anachronistic. The use of horses in the modern-day film felt anachronistic. Apathetic. The apathetic response of the students to the school assembly was disappointing. Arbitrary. The arbitrary decision to choose red as the color of the logo was not based on any research. Arcane. The arcane language of the ancient text was difficult to decipher. Arduous. The arduous climb to the summit of the mountain took 6 hours. Articulate. The articulate candidate impressed the interviewers with their communication skills. Astute. The astute detective quickly solved the case. Assertive. The job may call for assertive behavior. Audacious. The audacious escape from the prison made headlines around the world. Autonomous. The federation included 16 autonomous republics. Avaricious. Avaricious corporate bosses looking to maximize profits. Avid. The avid readers spent hours each day lost in their books. Awry. The plan had gone awry and needed to be revised. Axiomatic. It is axiomatic that we need water to survive. Alright, now in this last part I'm gonna give you a little questionnaire, meaning I'm gonna give you the definition of each adjective and then I'll ask you for the actual word. Now if you're not familiar with the adjectives yet, you can obviously watch the previous parts, watch them over and over until you feel confident, and then you can do this part of the video. Now let's go. So the first word, what is the word? The meaning is causing or deserving strong dislike or hatred. What's the word we're looking for here? If you need more time, pause the video now. The correct answer is abhorrent. The next word has the following definition: extremely unpleasant and degrading. Now, what's the word we're looking for here? Again, if you need more time, pause the video. The correct word is abject. Next up, sharp and forthright. What's the word we're looking for here? Acerbic. Next up, clever or skillful in using the hands or mind. Adroit. Wealthy and prosperous is the definition, and what's the actual word? Affluent. Showing a selfless concern for the welfare of others. And the word is altruistic. Open and responsive to suggestion. What word are we looking for now? Amenable or amenable in American English. Having or displaying a friendly and pleasant manner. Amiable. Having mixed feelings or contradictory ideas about something or someone. This is a longer word. Ambivalent. Without a clearly defined shape or form is amorphous. Belonging to a period other than that being portrayed. Now this is a very long word. The word is anachronistic. Showing or feeling no interest, enthusiasm, or concern. What's the word we're looking for here? Apathetic. Next up, based on random choice or personal whim rather than any reason or system. What word are we looking for now? The word is arbitrary. Understood by few, mysterious or secret, secretive. What's the word we're looking for? Arcane. Involving or requiring strenuous effort, difficult and tiring. What's the word? Arduous. Having or showing the ability to speak fluently and coherently. This is a great word, and the word is articulate. Having or showing an ability to accurately assess situations or people and turn this to one's advantage. This is quite a short word, in my opinion. The word is astute or astute in American English. Having or showing a confident and forceful personality. Assertive. Showing a willingness to take surprisingly bold risks. Audacious. Having the freedom to govern itself or control its own affairs. Autonomous. Having or showing an extreme greed for wealth or material gain. Avaricious. Having or showing a keen interest in or enthusiasm for something. Avid. Away from the appropriate planned or expected course, amiss. And the answer is awry. Self-evident or unquestionable. Axiomatic. All right, congratulations, you've made it. Now, if you're not clear on these adjectives, watch this course repeatedly, watch it over and over again until you feel confident and until you've learned, until you've mastered these advanced adjectives. And there's also a PDF, like I said at the beginning. All the links are under the video in the description if you want to download the PDF. And if you're new here, make sure to subscribe, press the thumbs up, leave a like. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. And I actually also just launched a Discord server. The link for my private Discord server is in the description below as well. You can join for free and you can chat with me and improve your English that way. And that's it for today. I'll see you next time.